Oh my gosh, it is so good that Rogan apologized over the weekend. Here he is, cut 7.
I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast, and it's all smushed together, and it looks horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing.
Stop. Okay, so Joe, first of all, I appreciate I can appreciate what you're going through, and I can appreciate your being honest here, and you really are sorry for people who were offended by that. But, Joe, they weren't offended by that. They did understand the context. If 12 years ago, and I don't know, if 12 years ago you were just throwing that word out, like Howard Stern, if you're just throwing that word out, people, they don't look positively on that word. 12 years ago, maybe it was different. But certainly 12 years ago in context, I think it was a little different, unless you know who the left is. Joe is under attack right now, and I can tell you what's coming next.
Yes, you can.
I can.
As the OG of this entire thing.
Thank you. I am the OG. Yes.
They started out this plan to get you canceled so many years ago. They figured out the whole process and tried to perfect it with you. Now you seem to still be on the air, so apparently didn't work out all that well.
Well, I will tell you that there's a couple of ways this is going to work out for him. First of all, Joe, never apologize. And I don't mean it like never apologize when you've done something that you find offensive or wrong. You should always apologize when you have done something that you're ashamed of. So apology accepted, apology warranted, perhaps.
Maybe
if you were using it in context, I don't think so. But maybe
should Joe Biden apologize for what he said in that? I don't think so.
No, I don't.
He was quoting someone. That's.
I am giving. I don't know every word that Joe Rogan has said on the podcast, so maybe he has thrown it out there, 12 years ago. Without context. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying, if that was what happened, then you should apologize, but not to these people. Not to these people. If you really did hurt and offend people with it, your audience would have told you that. You wouldn't be as successful as you are now. Because we are not a country of racists. No matter what everybody wants to say about us, we are not a country of racists. Hear me. This is a lie being pushed on you. Are there racists? Yes. Joe Rogan is not a racist. America is not a racist nation. We are becoming one. And it's in a reverse sort of way, but they deny that you could ever be anything other than white and be a racist. That's why Whoopi Goldberg was actually correct if you believe any of this woke BS. She embodied her view on the Holocaust and the Nazis is the woke definition of racism. So I don't understand. Was Whoopi right or was she wrong? Which one? The ADL has so discredited itself because it had that definition for 2 years on their website, which makes my point. Whoopi was living the woke terminology. She was confused by it because I think she actually believes that BS. Joe, there's a difference between, for your audience, I'm just talking for your audience. Your audience understands you. Your audience knows you. And when you have an epiphany, you should express that epiphany on air. You know, I did something yesterday that was just so stupid. I did something, whatever. I did something 10 years ago that I just have to tell you. But you can't apologize to the people you offended, because if you offended, they're no longer listening to you. And you know you didn't offend the vast majority of your audience, or they wouldn't be listening to you. So you can talk about an epiphany. I've had an epiphany lately. But if your epiphany on this, which I don't think it is, your epiphany on this is that you're being boycotted, that's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do. Because they're not sincere. You may be, but they're not. This has nothing to do with racism. I can prove it to you here. Let me give you another story that just came out that says it's, forget about racism. Racism, really? That's what you're concerned about? The real problem, where is it? The real problem is that he's a transphobe. Mm-hmm.
It's a new one now. They've got the racist thing, the anti-vax thing, now transphobic.
Now he's
speech
transphobic, and that is the real problem, Stu.
Well, why? He had Abigail Schreier on his show for an interview.
Exactly right.
He had Deborah Soh. Mm-hmm. I mean, these people sure have lots of qualifications that would make them totally fine to interview on a subject of their expertise. But
no,
let's just call them haters, and then we can call Joe Rogan a hater by extension.
Yeah. So the next thing now is transphobe. So what does this tell you? Here's what's going to happen to Joe Rogan. Well, I can't say what's going to happen to Joe Rogan. I think Joe survives. But if it plays out the way it always plays out, this is going to be wave after wave after wave. Because here's what they're trying to do. And I know because they developed it with me. They'll take one thing, and that will be hard for his supporters to defend. He says it was even indefensible. Okay, so I don't know. In today's world, that was indefensible. It's exactly what happened to me when I said, I think Obama's a racist. No, he's not a racist. He just has some serious problem with white people or the white culture. Well, yes, it's called CRT. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but that's what I was sensing. And I apologized because I didn't mean that he was a racist. Or does CRT make you a racist? I didn't know what I was dealing with at the time. Inartfully expressed, thinking out loud. Okay. Did that make that go away? No. The next charge was that I hated 9/11 victims. And they had one piece of audio, me saying, I'm beginning to hate these 9/11 victims. What was the context? Well, I was at a fundraiser that I started to help the families of 9/11 to help the families of those in New Orleans. And all you were seeing on TV the night before this was them shooting at helicopters, people who were stranded, the bad guys. And I said, there's always bad guys, but you can't let that close your heart. We all gave to 9/11, and we know that there are a few people out there that are just using this to make money. And I hear them now. This was 8 years later. I hear them now, and I'm like, I'm sick of hearing about you. I'm sick of it because the only victims we're hearing are the ones who are playing the victim card. Did context matter? No.
It was literally said at a fundraiser for Katrina victims, and they tried to make it out as if you were saying something bad about Katrina victims. You were raising money for them.
Yes.
But they didn't care. No one cared.
So
So stop trying. You can't win with those
Right.
people. Why bother?
Then I was an anti-Semite.
Oh, and the Defender of Israel Award winner is an
Yeah.
anti-Semite. That was always an interesting one.
So here's the thing. There's two things going on. One, for Joe's knowledge, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. It is now. They have you fixed in their targets. And there's only one goal, but they will take the secondary. Their goal is to wipe you out. And here's why. Because if they can take you out, they'll take every one of us out. You are the biggest target. You're the apex predator. And if they can take you out, then that sends the message to Spotify and Google and Apple and everybody else. You better not have anybody right of Joe Rogan. You can't. Because we'll come for you, the apex predator. Because we just ate the polar bear. So they will come after you wave after wave to make it harder and harder for people who like you to explain, because they don't have the context. It's not in a viral video. And if you put together a viral video, it will be censored, dropped, or seriously algorithmed out of existence. Because you are going behind not only a paywall for Spotify, but you are now entering the digital ghetto. And they will put you behind a wall. And they've already started to do it. So their goal is to take you out. And they don't care about anything. These are not good people. They don't care about any of it. The ends justify the means. The other way this can end for you, and I'm going to actually give a third option that I'm actually hoping for. But their goal, they have one. The other way that they'll tolerate is that you have been so damaged that you are no longer acceptable to the majority of people. That you might still be acceptable in whispers. You might still be, I really like what he says. But it won't ever be like it is now. Because right now, you're me when I had my face on the cover of Time magazine. And that was unacceptable. You cannot have that. So they're going to take you down, or they will marginalize you so where your core is super, super strong. And you know what? That's really all you should care about anyway. The people who actually listen to you, who actually know you. They can't have you bigger than your core. Good thing for you, your core is in the millions. There's a third way. And this is actually the one I'm hoping for, but it involves everything. This is way beyond Joe Rogan. This, I think, is so much bigger than Joe Rogan. It's always been about, me or Megyn Kelly and what she said on NBC or whatever. And as the years have gone on, people have realized these people who are doing this, they're not even real people. This isn't real people. These aren't really people who are offended. These are groups. These are power groups that are raising money. And I'm going to show you who they are here in a second. It's pretty phenomenal. But they're power groups that make tons of money and are working hand in hand with the left. And, whether that's the Hillary Clintons of the world or the Joe Bidens or the Democratic Party or people that used to work for the Democratic Party, but they're not. They're totally separate now. That's who these people are. This is all about politics. And people know it. People know it. They're tired of being called racist. They're tired of being called names. They're tired of this cancel culture. And it's coming to a head. When you have people like Jon Stewart standing up, And then you have people like The Rock standing up, but then sitting down. That didn't help The Rock. That didn't help The Rock. You have more and more people on the left, the hippies that didn't sell out. You have more and more of those people, Democrats, and the real liberal, not the left, the real liberal, that are waking up to this, and they've had enough. This, I think, is bigger than Joe Rogan. This is the beginning of a movement. This, combined with the vaccine mandates, people standing up and saying, enough is enough, you're not going to tell me what to do. This is the beginning of either a civil war or a great awakening. And I am hoping and praying for the great awakening. The left is pushing for a civil war.